So picture this scenario. You are at a social event, or maybe you're just logging onto a video call with a new colleague.
Right, the classic icebreaker situation.
Exactly. And someone asks you a seemingly innocent question like, what do you do for fun? Or tell me about your typical day.
Oh, the dread.
And suddenly your mind just completely goes blank.
Mm,
You completely freeze. Like you have this rich, interesting life, but instead of sharing it, you hear yourself resorting to that embarrassing robotic textbook answer.
the classic, I wake up, I work, I sleep.
Yes, I wake up, I work, I sleep.
It is a universally humbling experience. I mean, anyone who has ever learned a second language knows that exact feeling of panic.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you have this entire personality in your native language, but when you try to translate it, especially when you're at that intermediate stage,
Where you know the grammar.
right, you know the grammar,
Yeah.
but you lack the natural rhythm, so your personality just gets flattened.
Yeah, it really
It-
does.
You end up presenting this completely devoid of character list of tasks.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly frustrating because, well, you know you are more interesting than the words coming out of your mouth.
And that is the exact frustration we are tackling today. You, our listener, have shared some absolutely fascinating notes and vocabulary with us, aimed right at that crucial B1 intermediate stage.
It's a great collection of material.
It really is. So the mission for today's deep dive is to unpack this source material. We want to find the most natural, authentic ways to talk about a daily routine in English.
Not just stringing grammatically correct words together,
Exactly. We are looking for real-world confidence here.
which is really about human connection when you think about it.
How so?
Well, mastering this specific type of vocabulary isn't just about passing a language test or, sounding smart in a meeting.
Right?
When you think about how native speakers actually connect with one another, it's very rarely through presenting a vision of robotic perfection.
That's a really good point. We don't bond over being perfect.
We connect through shared realities. We bond over the messy, slightly imperfect, sometimes chaotic moments of our day.
Yeah.
If you only use perfectly sanitized textbook phrases, you basically build a wall between yourself and the person you're talking to.
So true. So let's start breaking down those walls, starting with the very beginning of the day,
The morning routine.
the morning routine. The vocabulary you shared with us dives right into the messy, honest reality of mornings, and it brings up this ultimate cultural divide.
Oh, the concept of the morning person.
Yes, the morning person. What does it actually mean to claim that title?
Well, a morning person is generally someone who naturally feels energetic and productive early in the day.
Must be nice.
Right. But the psychological weight of that phrase is what makes it so interesting. Society tends to reward the morning person.
It definitely does. There's this idealized version of the morning routine that we all think we're supposed to have.
And the vocabulary you brought us captures this perfectly with the phrase, stick to a routine.
And the example of sticking to a routine in the notes is always so incredibly aspirational. It's like waking up at 6:30 a.m., drinking a large glass of water right away to hydrate.
Taking a brisk shower to wake up properly.
It sounds like a lifestyle commercial.
It's a fantastic routine if you can actually pull it off.
Right,
And stick to a routine is a powerful phrase because it implies discipline.
right.
It means you're following the same schedule consistently despite the temptation to deviate. But the material quickly pivots to the reality for a lot of people.
Which involves a totally different, much more relatable set of vocabulary. I was practically laughing out loud reading through the alternative phrases.
Because it's just so honest.
It is. The contrast to the 6:30 a.m. water drinker is the person who admits, I usually hit the snooze button at least twice.
Yeah.
Why does a phrase like hit the snooze button work so much better in casual conversation than simply saying I wake up late?
Because it's a highly specific physical action that instantly communicates a mood.
Oh, that makes sense.
Everyone knows the feeling of blindly reaching out to press that button.
Just to delay the alarm for a few more minutes of sleep.
Exactly. When you say, I hit the snooze button, you aren't just giving a timeline of your morning.
Yeah.
You're sharing a feeling of reluctance.
You're inviting the other person to say, oh, me too.
It builds instant rapport.
And it sets up the next domino to fall in the morning chaos.
Right.
You hit the snooze button, you lie there scrolling through your phone for 20 minutes, and then you suddenly panic.
Because you realize you are running late.
Yes.
Running late.
Which is such an essential piece of vocabulary.
Yeah.
So much more nuanced than just being behind schedule or arriving later than planned.
How so?
Saying you are running late immediately lowers the temperature of the room. It's an apology and an explanation wrapped into 2 words.
Oh, I see.
It acknowledges that you are in motion, you're trying to get there, but time has just slipped away from you. But here is the dilemma for a language learner. You don't want to sound like a rigid robot, but you also might not want to confess to your boss that you hit the snooze button 3 times.
And are chronically running late.
Exactly. What I love about the vocabulary you sent us is that it gives you a linguistic escape hatch.
A way to navigate between perfection and disaster.
Yes. And that escape hatch is the phrase, "I'm trying to build a healthier morning routine."
It is a brilliant strategy for answering questions about your day. Let's look at why it works so well.
Okay.
First, it's completely honest. It acknowledges that your current routine might involve a little too much phone scrolling and panic.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, it shifts the focus from a static, boring fact like I wake up at 8 to an active, dynamic process.
I'm trying to build.
Exactly.
It takes the pressure off. You don't have to be a perfect morning person to sound totally fluent. You just have to be able to talk about the fact that you're a work in progress.
And it sounds incredibly natural. It sounds like real life. You're communicating intention, which instantly makes you sound more engaged, mature, and conversational.
It's funny how that morning momentum, or lack of it, bleeds right into the afternoon.
Oh, absolutely.
And that brings up a major theme in the vocabulary you shared, the illusion of the perfect workday.
Mm-hmm.
We transition from the morning panic into an afternoon that is described as structured.
Now, when we talk about a structured day, it doesn't mean you're a machine mapping out every single minute of your existence.
Right.
It's about having intentional guardrails.
Right.
This is especially relevant now with so many people working from home.
Navigating a seemingly endless series of video calls.
And trying to keep the lines between work and life from completely blurring together.
Yep.
A structured afternoon is one where you have a clear plan.
Now, I noticed a really strange phrase in the afternoon section of the materials you brought us, dealing exactly with how to maintain that structure.
Yes, I know the one.
It talks about eating the frog.
Eating the frog.
What exactly does a frog have to do with getting through a Tuesday?
It is a wonderfully visceral image, isn't it? Eating the frog is a productivity concept. It means doing the hardest, most dreadful thing first so that the rest of the day feels easier.
Okay.
The idea is that if the first thing you do in the morning is eat a live frog, you can go through the rest of your day knowing the worst is behind you.
That makes total sense.
So in the context of our daily routine, it means getting the most important, daunting tasks done before, say, 3 p.m.
I have definitely had those days where a massive, ugly task, the frog is just sitting on my to-do list, staring at me.
And you avoid it.
I avoid it until 4 p.m., and by then, my entire day has been ruined by the dread of it.
Exactly.
But why is this such a crucial concept for a language learner to use when describing their day?
It goes back to the psychological reality of how we manage our energy.
Yeah.
Tackling those priority items early actually provides brain fuel.
It gives you a sense of accomplishment.
Right, that carries you forward. If you wait, you run into the inevitable afternoon slump. And that brings us to the next vital piece of vocabulary you provided.
The absolute danger of skipping lunch.
Yes.
Oh, the work from home trap.
It really is.
It's so easy to just keep working, maybe eat a piece of toast while staring at a spreadsheet, and then wonder why you have absolutely no energy by 4 p.m.
Well, the human brain needs fuel to process language, to solve problems, to do anything. The essential phrase provided to combat this crash is to step away from my desk.
Step away from my desk.
It is a boundary-setting phrase.
It implies a physical relocation, not just eating a sandwich while glaring at your inbox,
Right.
but actually getting up, stepping away to eat something, or maybe taking a short walk if the weather cooperates.
When you say, I need to step away from my desk, you are showing control over your structured day. You're claiming your time. But what is truly fascinating here is the cultural nuance that comes up right after this in your material.
Yes.
The discussion about what happens after lunch.
The nap discussion. I found this so eye-opening. Taking a nap after lunch is totally normal, even expected in several cultures around the world.
It's built into the rhythm of the day.
It is.
But the crucial context to remember is that in most English-speaking corporate environments, taking a nap in the middle of the day is not traditionally accepted.
No, definitely not.
If you tell your manager at a conventional accounting firm that you're logging off for a post-lunch nap, it might raise some eyebrows.
Except, and I love this exception, unless you are in the tech industry.
Yes, the tech industry has completely rebranded the nap.
They really have.
A 10 to 20-minute sleep designed to restore energy quickly is no longer a sign of laziness. It's a power nap.
A power nap.
It's viewed as an optimization tool. So telling your colleagues at a startup that you were taking a quick power nap to recharge is becoming much more culturally acceptable.
Context is absolutely everything.
It really is.
And all of this vocabulary, the structure, the frog, the stepping away, leads up to a very specific practical application for you, the listener.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond when a colleague asks, "How's your workday going?"
Well, instead of just offering a one-word answer like fine or busy.
Which just shuts down the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can use the phrase, pretty productive. Actually, I got a lot done this morning.
Pretty productive, actually. I got a lot done this morning. It is such a massive upgrade.
It really is.
It's natural, it's confident, and it subtly signals that you have been eating the frog, managing your structure, and owning your day.
You're painting a picture of competence rather than just listing tasks.
Exactly. So we have conquered the morning, we have navigated the afternoon slump, and now we move to the final part of the day.
Right.
Which, ironically, can actually be the hardest part to describe in a second language.
The evening.
Yeah. Why is that? Why is it so difficult to just talk about coming home and doing nothing?
Because doing nothing is a surprisingly abstract concept.
Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way.
If you say, I stop working and I sit, it sounds unnatural. You need vocabulary that describes the process of transitioning from a state of high stress to a state of rest.
The phrase that captures that process perfectly in the notes is wind down.
Yes.
I like to wind down in the evening.
Wind down is a beautiful phrasal verb. It implies a gradual reduction of tension, like a clock slowly releasing its gears.
You don't just stop instantly.
No, you ease out of the day. It could involve watching a show, listening to music, or making dinner. It is the intentional act of relaxing.
But the evening routine has its own modern pitfalls, which brings us to the screen time struggle.
We all know the ideal habit is to disconnect from screens.
Deliberately stopping the use of phones, computers, or televisions at least an hour before bed.
Right. The science is clear that it helps you sleep better. But again, the vocabulary we use to talk about this needs to reflect reality, not just the scientific ideal.
I loved the relatable admission in the scenarios you shared, where someone confesses that they definitely do not disconnect from screens, and that their daily screen time is, quote, embarrassingly high.
Admitting a flaw like having embarrassingly high screen time makes for a much better, richer conversation than simply stating a robotic fact like, I watch television at 8 o'clock.
It invites empathy.
It does. It shows you're self-aware.
And if you are trying to improve that embarrassingly high screen time, you have another fantastic phrase at your disposal.
Yes, you do.
I'm trying to get into the habit of, for example, I'm trying to get into the habit of reading before bed.
Let's really analyze why this is such a powerful tool for a language learner.
Okay.
It's very similar to the morning escape hatch of trying to build a healthier routine.
Right, right.
Using the phrase get into the habit of communicates what's happening beneath the surface.
Yeah.
It shows you're actively working to make a behavior automatic. Native speakers use this phrasing constantly to describe their own self-improvement efforts.
Because none of us are perfect.
Exactly.
We're all just trying to get into the habit of doing better. It allows you to navigate the nuance between your intentions and your actual actions.
And all of this evening winding down, the struggle to disconnect from screens and the attempt to read a book instead of scrolling leads to the final universal goal of the day.
Wrapping it all up with the phrase, I try to be in bed by 11.
It is the perfect, universally understood bookend to the daily routine.
Okay, we have covered an incredible amount of ground.
We really have.
We have these highly natural expressions spanning from hitting the snooze button to winding down. We have the theory. But knowing the words is only half the battle.
Right.
How do you actually get them out of your mouth naturally?
This is where we move from passive understanding to active mastery. The material you provided doesn't just leave us with a vocabulary list.
No, it details a specific method for internalizing the rhythm of these phrases.
A technique called shadowing.
Now, I have heard of shadowing, but how does it actually work in practice? Is it just repeating words like a parrot?
Far from it. Shadowing is an active listening and speaking exercise. English is a stress-timed language.
Meaning?
That means the rhythm is determined by the stress syllables, not by giving equal time to every single word. If you read the phrase, I try to stick to a routine, like a robot, with identical space between every word, it won't sound natural, even if your pronunciation of the individual letters is flawless.
Right, it would sound like, I try to stick to a routine.
Yes.
Which is grammatically correct, but completely jarring to listen to.
Exactly. Shadowing forces you to mimic the musicality of the language. The rises, the falls, the compressions of certain words, and the pauses. You listen to a native speaker say a sentence, you pause, and then you repeat it out loud, trying to perfectly match that physical rhythm.
Can we actually demonstrate this?
Sure.
Let's say we take the phrase about skipping lunch. How would a learner shadow that?
The instruction is to start with a slightly slower pace to grasp the rhythm. So I would say the sentence, focusing on the stressed words. I usually step away from my desk and take a short walk.
Okay.
You give yourself a 3-second pause to let that rhythm echo in your head.
And then I would repeat it, trying to hit those exact same beats. I usually step away from my desk and take a short walk. I can actually feel how the words usually and from my get squished together so that step away and desk can land with more impact.
That is the physical feeling of a stress-timed language.
Yeah.
It is muscle memory for your mouth.
Wow.
Once you have that rhythm locked in at a slower pace,
Yeah.
you speed it up to normal conversational speed. You do this repeatedly until the physical act of saying the phrase feels effortless.
It's like practicing a scale on a piano until your fingers just know where to go without you having to look at the keys.
Exactly. But physical practice isn't the only tool we have. There is also a cognitive check involved to make sure the vocabulary actually sticks in your brain.
Yes, the method of active recall. The material includes a fill-in-the-blank exercise, which is incredibly effective.
Very much so.
Instead of just passively rereading a list of definitions, you force your brain to retrieve the information.
Like testing the recall of the word disconnect in the sentence. I always blank from screens before bed.
Or trying to remember the phrase stick to in the sentence. It's hard to blank a routine when you work from home.
When you force your brain to pull that word out of thin air, you're strengthening the neural pathway to that vocabulary. It is a fast, highly effective way to lock the knowledge in. And if you miss one, you simply review it and try again. That is the entire point of practice.
I feel like we have been on quite a journey today.
It's been a deep dive for sure.
Let's look at how far we've come. We started with the mission to rescue you from the dreaded robotic trap of I wake up, I work, I sleep.
And to replace that trap with the nuanced, authentic language of real-life situations.
You are now armed with expressions that breathe life into your day. You know how to talk about the cultural weight of being a morning person, the relatable honesty of hitting the snooze button, and the social utility of running late.
All while using the brilliant escape hatch of trying to build a healthier routine.
You understand the guardrails of a structured workday, the psychological brain fuel of eating the frog, the necessity of stepping away from your desk, and the highly specific tech industry acceptance of the power nap.
And you have the vocabulary to articulate the abstract process of your evening wind down.
The universal struggle to disconnect from screens.
The maturity of trying to get into a new habit.
And the final goal of being in bed by 11. Plus, you now understand the physical mechanics of shadowing to actually match the stress-timed rhythm of English.
It is a comprehensive toolkit. Yeah. You're no longer just translating a list of tasks.
No.
You're communicating your daily reality, your flaws, and your intentions with complete confidence.
It really is a game changer for how you present yourself. But before we wrap up this deep dive, we always like to leave you with something to chew on.
Something that goes beyond just the mechanics of vocabulary and shadowing.
Yeah.
Looking at all this material, it raises a much deeper, almost philosophical question. We have spent all this time focusing on how to acquire the specific vocabulary to accurately describe your daily habits. But I want you to consider the reverse. Does the language we use actually shape our behavior?
Oh, that's interesting.
Now that you have the precise English phrasing to describe the process of winding down, or the visceral imagery of eating the frog, might it actually make you more conscious of practicing those very habits in your own daily life?
Like, does naming the action give it power?
Exactly. Does having the words for the habit actually help you build the habit?
Oh, wow. Does the language create the reality? That is a fascinating thought to take with you as you go about your perfectly structured or wonderfully chaotic day. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the language of our daily lives. Keep exploring, keep shadowing, and most importantly, stay curious.